Today we dive into the life of Sophie, Duchess of Hohenberg, a woman who stood behind an historical figure and who accidentally today is best remembered for one of history's most pivotal moments. Coming from a noble background, Sophie married the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, a man who actually was way above her rank but who chose love over political alliances. As shocking as her marriage to Archduke Franz Ferdinand was, so was also her demise by his side in Sarajevo. Now join me as we uncover Sophie's childhood, her romance with Franz Ferdinand, the challenges she faced to become his wife, and the fateful June day in Sarajevo. Sophie Maria Josephine Albina was born on March 1, 1868 in Stuttgart, then in the Kingdom of Württemberg. She was the fourth daughter of Bohuslav, the Count Chotek of Chotkov and Wognin. Her father belonged to the House of Chotek, a Bohemian noble family. Her paternal grandfather had been governor of Tyrol. Her father Bohuslav served as Austrian ambassador to the royal courts of Stuttgart, St. Petersburg, and Brussels. Sophie's mother was Countess Wilhelmine Kinsky of Wichnitz and Tettau, a member of a Czech noble family. The family would go on to have a total of 9 children, 1 son and 8 daughters. Their father's income was stable and good, and so all children were educated at home. When Sophie was 18, her mother died and she took over the household. Her father taught her how to handle money and she cared for her younger siblings. It is not clear when exactly Sophie met Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Sources suggest that it might have been at a ball in Prague in 1894. At that time, Franz Ferdinand was stationed in Prague with the military. There he often visited his relative, the Duke of Teschen, at Halbturn Castle. The Duke of Teschen's wife, Archduchess Isabella, was on the lookout for a lady in waiting. Franz Ferdinand recommended Sophie to apply for the job. Despite first hesitations due to the Archduchess's complicated reputation, Sophie applied and got the job. Due to his frequent visits, it was assumed that the Archduke fell in love with the Duke's daughter, Archduchess Marie Christine. However, Franz Ferdinand and Sophie already began a secret relationship at this point. They would have to keep it a secret until 1899. Archduchess Isabella had high hopes to be the future mother-in-law to the future Austro-Hungarian emperor. And so, when she found Franz Ferdinand's locket on the tennis court, she expected a portrait of her daughter to be inside of it. She was shocked to find Sophie's picture instead. This would spark a scandal. Many people around the couple tried to convince them to separate. One of them was Sophie's own brother, who by then was working closely with the imperial family and who feared for his post. Franz Ferdinand, who was the heir to his uncle, Emperor Franz Joseph, was informed by the emperor himself that Sophie could not become empress consort and as such a marriage was not possible. In the end, it was Franz Ferdinand's stepmother, Maria Theresa, who convinced the elderly emperor to allow the marriage. Emperor Franz Joseph granted them their wish on April 8, 1900, but only under strict conditions. Franz Ferdinand was allowed to keep his place in the line of succession. However, any children resulting out of his marriage were not going to be eligible to inherit the throne. In addition, Franz Ferdinand had to appear at the Hofburg Palace and sign a document confirming that Sophie would always be his morganatic wife and would never bear the title of empress or queen. The marriage then took place on July 1, 1900 at Reichstadt. None of Franz Ferdinand's siblings nor the emperor attended their wedding. The only members of the imperial family who were present were the Archduke's stepmother and both of her daughters. After the wedding, Sophie was granted the title of Princess of Hohenberg, which was later elevated to Duchess of Hohenberg. Despite being the wife of the future emperor, Sophie was treated as a lower-ranking person at court. She was not allowed to sit in the Imperial Theatre Lounge, ride in the same carriage as her husband, and all archduchesses, princesses, and countesses of Austria and Hungary took precedence over her. The couple were only close to the widowed Crown Princess Stephanie, with whom they often stayed at her residence in Hungary. In foreign countries, most strict royal protocols also prevented courts from hosting the two. Their first official state visit took place in 1909 when the couple was invited to Romania. George V and Queen Mary also welcomed them warmly at Windsor Castle a few years later. Queen Mary's father was the offspring of a morganatic marriage. Franz Ferdinand and Sophie went on to have 4 children together: Sophie, Maximilian, Ernst, and a stillborn son. In June 1914, Franz Ferdinand was invited to Sarajevo by General Oskar Potiorek, the governor of the Austro-Hungarian province of Bosnia and Herzegovina, to watch military maneuvers. As Franz Ferdinand was invited as a military commander and not as a royal personage, Sophie was even allowed to join him on the 3-day visit. The couple knew the trip might be dangerous, but nevertheless decided to go. On the third and final day, June 28, 1914, Nedeljko Gabrinović threw a hand grenade at the procession. He missed the Archduke's car and the grenade exploded under the wheel of the next car. 2 occupants were wounded and many others were hit by bomb splinters. The couple headed to the official reception at the city hall. There they decided they wanted to visit the wounded in the hospital. One of Franz Ferdinand's staff members suggested that this might be a dangerous idea. However, General Oskar Potiorek replied, "Do you think Sarajevo is full of assassins?" The route was changed to avoid the city center. However, Franz Ferdinand and Sophie's driver was not informed about the changes and took a wrong turn. Potiorek shouted and the driver stopped the car in order to back up. The car stopped right next to Gavrilo Princip, who saw his chance, drew his pistol, and shot twice. Franz Ferdinand was hit in the neck, while Sophie was shot in the stomach region. Sophie almost immediately fell unconscious. Franz Ferdinand pleaded, "Sophie, Sophie, don't die. Stay alive for our children." Within an hour, both were dead. Gavrilo Princip later stated that he regretted shooting Sophie and that the second bullet was meant to hit Potiorek. Their assassination was the last major event leading directly to the First World War. Their bodies were transported to Vienna for a joint funeral mass at the Hofburg Palace. Even after death, Sophie's rank was still a problem, as she was not allowed to be buried in the imperial crypt. As the two wished to be entombed next to each other, their bodies were then brought to the crypt of Arstetten Castle. Here, the couple finally rests at equal heights.